About to pull a knife on Zelkos here.
Fight.
You get rid of the
Is your
rapier,
stream
or you
up?
get the knife.
I have a dagger.
Stream
Zelkos
up?
has gone dual wielding. Yes, it's up.
I'm okay, I guess I can start then. Okay, so... I don't even... Let me check my notes on where you left off.
Like we were exploring
You
the
met
library.
the seer. You met the seer in the Horizon Temple. She is sleeping, because that's what she does. And it says here that I let you guys have full access to the library as well as lodging and such. So, yes, there you go.
What was the? She said, sorry, she gave us a whole bunch of revealing information. What were the full riddles? She gave
So,
4 people.
depose a false god, who we think is maybe the Archon, strike down a rogue general, kill a lost sister, and we're assuming that the Shears, because the Shears are being taken advantage of, but also doing what she wants, frustrated with her path and wants to change her path in the path Theros. The lost sister's sisters live in the underworld working for Theros. The general, I wrote read the sister, but I think that's a typo. And then cast down someone who's not from here. So it's depose a false god, strike down a rogue general, kill a lost sister, cast down someone who is not from
And
here.
the theory is Kane is the person not from here, and depose the general is Patrazentos' faction's boss, like the guy he was responding to back before we liberated him.
The guy working with the lost sister, right? That
Yeah,
guy.
exactly.
Kinda
The guy
dresses
who.
like a
Yeah.
risen, but isn't a risen.
And I'm pretty sure I mean, we can go down the line of what we think we were doing. I think I ended the last session reading a book on the underworld. I don't know what you guys were doing.
Taking a long rest because I hadn't slept in 48 hours.
Yeah,
Right.
you just done that. I
Somebody
don't
woke
think
me
I
up.
was looking at a
Sure.
specific topic.
Well, I'm going to... If you're in the library, I'm going to paint you a better picture of like what's going on in the library. Actually, I'm just going to paint you a better picture of where each of you are in this situation. So, the lodging's actually really nice, from what you can see. There's a lot of beds here, which is kind of odd considering how, from what you've seen, there's only really one person living here. But from that, you can probably make out that more than just the seer used to live here, or used to call this temple their home. There appears to be some dried goods, some dried fruit and the like here. But besides that, not much in the way of meats or anything like that. And when you're walking up to the temple, it didn't seem like there was much in the way of any wildlife here, considering how small the island actually is. I guess fishing's always a possibility here, but with the constant storm surrounding the island, it stands to reason that that could even be a difficult task for even the best of fishermen. The library itself, where you're standing, Acreus, and you all can kind of notice this when you came in. Maybe not Voltos, depending on how tired you are, or how tired you were at the time, but it's very clear when you wake up and you properly greet the library. There's a number of what looks to be styluses writing on books almost constantly. As the seer kind of mentioned, this is the written history and happenings of Theros. And you can see that there are these styluses that are just constantly scribing on pages, long scrolls, books, etc., etc., just constantly writing away. As they finish, as you can just see, Agrius from just standing in the library for a period of time, when a book or a scroll is finished and exhausted, it kind of puts itself neatly on a shelf, and then another scroll or empty book will come down and the stylus will continue writing. Besides that, that's what you see at a glance, just from it being in the library, as it were. Yeah. Besides that, you guys looked at the telescope room. At the very least, Poggles did. And I think Zelkos did as well.
I looked at the
Look
through the
storm. I did not look through the
Me,
telescope.
Poggles, and Zelkos did, but
I don't think I
Poggles
did.
saw something different when he looked through.
Right. Whereas the rest of you saw a wall, Poggle saw stars. And then there was the Ori, to which that wasn't really explained at all to any of you. And what you can glean from it is constellations, but that's about it from when you first walked in.
And then the
yeah.
benches, we got a bunch of psychic info. Some of us did.
Oh
at least.
yeah, the benches. That's right. Yeah, you all experienced the benches except for Voltos, who experienced the benches, but because of his ring, yeah. So, but yeah, that's basically where we left off with this. Like I said, the seer is sleeping. Voltos, you're long resting. So, what are the other four of you doing? Acrius said he was standing in the library, or going to the library to find a book on the underworld. What were the rest of you doing?
Yeah, I'm in the library here. I'm just looking around. I'm not really looking for a specific topic, so I'm just paging through books.
I'm gonna specifically look for information about all the archons of history and like how they came to be, what they fought for, how they were defeated, how they gave up or left if any of them did that.
Sure. What's Poggles doing?
I would want to look at the telescope more.
Okay, we'll do library first. So Acrius, you're looking over books of the underworld and the like, and right? Are you just like looking for anything particular, or are you just like looking for a binding that might, or a spine that just says like History of the Underworld Part 1 or something like that?
Stuff, maybe something tying to what the sisters that are down there working for Atrios or Athreus or whatever. Maybe just general information on the underworld, whichever you think would be appropriate to find. It can be either. Like, I'm totally fine doing either.
Sure. Okay, so let's go with this first then. Since we rolled for it. You stumble across, and not so much stumble. You know what you're looking for, and you kind of are able to pull out this book that it's outlined with the fates on it, and you start peeling through it, and you can kind of start seeing where the information that you're kind of looking for with regards to Athreus' fates and their general role that they play here on Theros, and just general knowledge on who they are, what powers they control here on Theros, and the like. We can go into that a bit more if you want. Just give me 1 second. Alright, sorry, back. So, the general knowledge you can get from this book, just looking over it. I'm assuming you're not much of a reader. I'm assuming Acrius isn't much of an avid reader.
No.
Can he read?
I can definitely read, but I'm not an avid reader.
So, you're looking through this book, and you come across a couple words that kind of stick out to you. One that keeps coming up is the word triad. Triad, Clothis, and Athreos are the words that seem to consistently be coming up. Upon looking into it more, you can you can tell that the Fates, as they are a group of 3 women who essentially serve 2 gods. They serve Athreos in that they provide him with information. but very little else with regards to Athreos. They provide him with information on people's deaths, where they are, what they are fated to do, and how they should be essentially conveyed to the underworld and where they should be conveyed. If they go to face punishment or if they go to live the remainder of their afterlife in relative bliss. And then Athreos, being the god of the river, takes them from there and proceeds to ferry the soul where it's supposed to go. The reason why Clothis is brought up is that while Athreos deals with the end of the mortal's life, Clothis is the one who dictates what their fate is and what their destiny is supposed to be. And destiny is fickle. Destiny is unkind. Destiny is something that everyone on Theros must meet and is required to meet, lest they face the wrath of the goddess of destiny. That is properly outlined here within the book.
So it seems like the sisters willingly serve Athreos. It's not like some sort of chain or binding or something. You don't have to answer that. I'm more
you
just
can glean, yes, but
okay.
yes.
All right, I will explain that to Zelkos and Kathos because they're next to me. That the sisters serve/worship two gods, Clothis and Athreos, and I'll basically convey everything you just told me.
Yeah, I like the idea of us like doing our research and then coming together during like lunch and chatting about it.
Okay.
What were you looking for, Zelkos, again?
I'm looking for information like the total history on Archon, so I'll know to maybe jump from like book to book if it's not grouped up, but I want to know anything and everything about Archons.
Well, you find a rather thick book. And written across the spine is written across the spine of it is the austere conquerors, and you can make out just going off of what you already know about Archons and was told to you about them. You know that they were once considered great conquerors of Theros and uniters of Theros, even tyrants to some extent. So you can kind of pull yourself over to that book and peel open and go through it a bit, and you're getting some pretty. It's a big book. It's a big book. Give me an investigation on this one. This is a very thick read.
9.
Okay. So it's going to take you a bit of time, but some things that pop up as you're going through are you see triumvirate archons, you see archons of war, you see what was that one called? I guess you see archons of stars, etc., etc., stuff along those lines, but you don't really see anything that particularly calls out anything that you would imagine to be the archon that you've seen. Especially nothing that states that an archon would ever serve or be aligned with Mogus. But you do find one thing in particular. You find something written of an Ashen archon, which, as the book states, were vengeful archons that attempted to stop the spread of civilization across Theros, because they wanted to dictate the control of civilization, and they wanted to shape how Theros developed and where Theros developed. This sticks out to you because the word Ashen continues to come up here, that they, with their flame that leaves ash in their wake, and their abilities that are noted to bring people to ash, and their tendency to want to brand individuals as members of their flock, as it were.
Oh, okay. So that's come up as he might have been one of those.
Yeah, well, I mean, Zelkos and I even met him. He introduced himself as like an Ashen Lord or something, the Ashen. So we definitely know this applies to whatever the Archon is.
Yeah, and so from there, I'll read or reread any parts I need to like try to figure out where and how and when they hid or were conquered or defeated. Mostly trying to figure out how people have defeated them in the past.
Sure.
And sorry, was this just the one, or were there multiple Ashen Lords from that description episode?
It's described that there are multiple
Okay.
Ashen Archons from this. That it's more of a type versus a singular entity. Well, doing further reading on this, you are able to determine exactly how the Ashen Riders of old were bested. They were basically brought, as you can see through what you're reading, they were brought to heel by the various gods. Most notably, Heliod, working alongside, in a very rare case, Perforos, in order to bring them to heel and essentially force them into servitude towards some of the gods. The Ashen Riders tended to lean more heavily towards working with Athreos than any other god, particularly because they, as stated before, have a tendency to want to dictate the flow of life and the flow of civilization. So it would make sense that they would lean more towards the god of passage and the god who outlines where people proceed to. You can see that there are some noteworthy examples of some Ashen Riders being brought under Afara, the goddess of civilization and cities, and working with her in order to essentially make great metropolises across Theros. Most notably, it's stated that one of the Ashen Riders helped with the founding and creation of, or laying the foundation, rather, of the city of Meletis. But once again, nowhere under this states that a rider has ever been loyal to Mogus in general.
Right.
All right, yeah. Once we're settling for lunch, I'll share
Sure.
that.
I guess, Frank, what I'll probably do research on is like Asphodel, like the social structures of Asphodel, and how to, like, this is tough because I don't really know how to describe it, but I guess I'm trying to like sound out how this guy, what I need to know about this warlord guy based on what Patrazentos told me. So I'm looking into Asphodel, I'm looking into like their power structure, I'm looking into maybe famous heroes from Asphodel.
Give me an investigation.
Say no more.
I mean, you could even look to this guy's rise to power because it's literally just history.
We don't know his name, I don't think.
You know his first.
Yeah, I have it handy.
You know his last name,
Okay.
or you
So,
know
yeah.
a name associated.
Drazoth
that's
the
my
Ashen.
investigation. And here's my history.
So Drazoth the Ashen's the Archon. You know
Yeah, sorry.
a name
Yeah.
associated with the general to be Orpheon.
Orpheon, okay.
That's the only name that you have associated with him. Well, your history check will yield you have basic knowledge and you know of an Orpheon from Asphodel. A great general, or once a great general. He had a meteoric rise and an even more meteoric fall. Though the workings of how he had such a swift rise and an even swifter fall is unknown to you. Your investigation yields a very simple book. It almost seems like it's not even finished as you look through it, and the back pages tend to be a bit empty. But it's labeled as Figures from Asphodel.
Okay.
And with this book, you have been able to spot the familiar name Orpheon within the pages. As you feel over the pages describing Orpheon's life and what he's done on Theros and what he's brought to Asphodel, you can take notice that he lived a very almost sad life. He lived one where he was very pious and devout, and it was almost to a fault. But it doesn't really elaborate much more on his life outside of a great military defeat where he lost all of his company, sans himself, and was even blamed for the death of a great hero thought to be a son of the god.
Oh. Is that hero's name mentioned?
Yes. That hero's name is Haktos.
Okay, does that name mean anything to me?
Oh, you recognize that name. You recognize that name as a fearless warrior without parallel, who was legend to be almost invulnerable. I say almost because in his combat on the fields of battle against a vast Minotaur army, he was struck by a wayward black arrow. This arrow pierced him and proceeded to turn his body into ash.
This is Hadrox.
Yes, Haktos.
Acto, sorry, not.
As General Orpheon sat watching as his army and this great hero fell before his very eyes. And he was yielded with defeat. Or he was greeted with defeat. At the hands of this Minotaur horde.
And what happened to Orpheon after that? He was disgraced, I'm assuming.
It continues on stating that after his great defeat, he retreated back to his life in Asphodel, not really regaling the people of the city with his presence or really inviting anyone to lavish parties as he used to, but turning more inward and turning more, or rather, turning away, as it clearly states, from his daily worships to Erois and Heliod and the various gods of war, and even Crufix to provide him with the knowledge he would need in order to best others in combat or on the field of battle. He turned away from it all, and one day he was seen leaving his estate and heading out into the Setson Wilds. And he wasn't seen again on Asphodel territory for another couple of years after that, where he since returned clad in an armor that no one had seen before, or he was not seen wearing when he left, with a very peculiar cadre in tow. A retinue that wasn't native to Asphodel.
And is there any mention of what that retinue had, or why? Like, based on my knowledge, like when the book, does that sync up with my knowledge, or do they just leave it ambiguous?
The book leaves it relatively ambiguous. The only thing that the book continues to state is the retinue consisted of 2 satyrs, a minotaur, which was baffling to the many people of Asphodel considering his past with that particular race of Theros. A risen, which was not particularly uncommon in Asphodel, considering how they are Asphodel being being the sister city to Odonos is home to a wide variety of risen, and a man, just a regular human man.
Regular human man. No mention of weird flaming things.
No mention.
All right.
So, upon hearing that tale later, would definitely point out, say, well, I guess it definitely makes sense that he's leading an order that hates the gods and their ability to just turn. He probably blames the gods for his failure in that battle and has been looking for a way for revenge ever since.
Yeah, I mean, being anti-god, he certainly seems to have had a tragic life where he observed a lot of things, but things didn't go well for him. But I'm still curious as to how he linked up with these people and managed to find this cause. He has a motive, but that doesn't necessarily explain his ability to do what he's been doing.
Right.
It also doesn't explain why one of the sisters is helping him.
We have our suspicions about his sister being like unhappy with her lot in life, but I agree. This is quite a drastic step.
Yep. And Poggles, you can do your thing now. I don't know if
Yeah.
you want.
Poggles, as you're looking through this telescope, you see the familiar sky that you saw before. Constellations and the like in what seems like a purplish night sky. You take note of various constellations that, well, the times that you've seen Nyxborn, you've been able to see very similar constellations in their very making, their very flesh, and well, even a couple times when you've managed to catch your shell in a mirror, you're now seeing very familiar constellations to what you've seen in your own shell. Give me a perception.
Perception.
Yep.
Did you?
Woo!
Poggle.
With ease. Poggles. As you're watching, and almost enraptured with what's going on and this revelation you've made, you see something kind of off. You see what looks like one of the stars goes out, and a constellation seems to break. And as you continue watching, you see more of this happen. You see one other star go out, and another, and so on. As it seems like full constellations seem to just be fading away.
Mhm.
That's basically what you're able to see from that.
Right. It's like, so they're going out. Is it like, does anything look like it's happening in the background? Like, is it like, I know the constellation is the background, but does it look like anything else is going on? Or does it look like
No,
something
from
bad's
what you
happening?
can tell, things are. What you can tell, these stars, these constellations seem like they're going out, and it's just kind of fading into the familiar purple wispy background.
Right. And if I walk over to here and back into this room, because I'm still I just want her to wake up. Is she awake yet?
No, she's still lying on the bench.
Okay, I do want to talk to her at some point, but I don't want to wake her up because this is trippy. And I don't think I want to go back in there because last time I did it, it shot me back into 10 hit points to me. So I think I'm gonna and just come in here, see what my friends are up to, but also just stare at the telescope.
Hey, Poggles, come get some lunch. We'll tell you what we read.
So you all swap notes with one another. Boy, Voltos is going to be out for most of all of this, isn't he?
It's okay. I'll pull.
Yeah, you all swap notes with one another, and you are able to enjoy lunch, be it between the sun dries that they have here and whatever you brought with you on your boat.
Wait, important note of order. I would have been reading some passages to Owl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
So that way, some of that
Who's
stuff can be.
Owl?
Owl is the
Owl
owl.
is owl.
It's else familiar, so that way, when he comes back, I assume there can be a much easier knowledge transfer.
I don't see why not. Yeah,
Plays the plays.
I got you, Al.
checks out. After a period of time of you kind of just sitting here chatting, comparing notes for lunch, or over lunch, you hear a sound coming from the staircase over here as you see the seer kind of like walk down the stairs in an almost ghostly way, kind of floating almost down these stairs. She turns and she sees the four of you, and she kind of says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt lunch.
Would you like some?
Oh no, no, that's perfectly all right. Thank you. I'm quite good.
All right.
Was everything in the library to your liking? Did you find everything you needed?
So far, so good.
Is there anything I might be able to assist you with?"
Gonna turn
I
to
don't think-
Boggles.
Oh, right.
Question: what did you see? What do you see in the telescope? My friends here, I would know they don't see anything. They're thinking I'm crazy, right?
Yeah, we told you. At least I told you I saw a blank wall, and when you looked through it, you saw a
I'm
constellation.
I'm just curious. Are you seeing the constellations going out in the telescope?
She when you say that, she kind of like looks down and then she looks back at you and nods very somberly. Um, she says, "It's been happening for quite some time now. That's hopefully why. Hopefully, we'll be able to fix it. But it has to do with the severing of the ties between Theros and Nyx. Hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, either you or some others will be able to mend what's happening here."
Yeah. And also, would she know anything about Farika? Would it be worth my time asking, or would she just be like, pass me on?
I mean, you could read a book on it if you will. You could ask her and then read a book
Yeah.
if she says, "I don't know."
Do you have any books on Farika?
She looks at you and she says, "Yes, I do. There should be a section on Farika acolytes, her works, rituals, everything over there." And she points towards this part of the library.
I'm gonna go over here and start looking for stuff.
Do you have one for
Anything?
Carmetra?
It would be in the same spot.
And are there anything on legendary ballads and tales? I guess the history as it's recorded outside of this room.
She says, "Oh, yeah, that would be just right by you, actually. It's just a little to your left."
All right. Well, I'll start with the Carmetra. Thank you.
And I'm looking for a book on ancient or legendary artifacts or relics hidden around Theros. Do you know where that might be?
She looks quizzically for a second. And she says, "I'm most of the well, I have a book of legendary artifacts and weapons and the likes that have been used, but most of those don't exist on Theros anymore. Most of them are gifts from the gods." But she kind of walks over here and she grabs a book on the shelf and she hands it to you. She says, This has a list of legendary weapons and the various magical and divine items that were gifted to chosen champions and devotees to the various gods.
That's fine. I'll read them just because I'm curious.
So what you're saying is, I as a player can now go read that section on artifacts because I've intentionally avoided it.
Yes. Yes, you can.
Fun.
So, Zelkos and Poggles, as you walk over here to the god section, as it were, the divinity section, you can both see this. It's not exactly being hidden. You can see a book that's under glass.
Is it titled? Is
What do you mean under glass?
It's like a pedestal with a book on it, and the book is under glass.
does it have anything on the spine or the cover?
No.
I'll call over to the. They said they introduced themselves as the seer, right? So it's like, excuse me, seer, what's this book here? The one under the glass.
She like peeks around this bookcase, and she says, "Oh, that's not for your eyes. That's only for me."
I don't have to look at it. I'm just curious what it is.
The knowledge that only Krufix is supposed to know.
All right, say no more.
By association, me.
And I'll grab the Carmetra book and start at the very beginning because I've heard tell of some sus practices, and I'm curious about them, both from a like history and a power perspective.
You're gonna get all those sus practices out of there. She walks over to you, Canathos. Are you still reading through this book, or like?
Oh yeah.
Through it.
Oh yeah.
She looks at you and she says, "Oh, reading on Orpheon then. That would make sense."
Why does that make
considered.
sense?
Well, considering what he's doing, it would make sense that you, a general of your stature, would want to know the enemy before approaching.
Can you tell me any more about Orpheon? Because I'm hearing he's not. Sorry, I'm hearing he's not a good guy. Like Patricento seemed to think he was the kingpin in all this.
Wait, that's an interesting point. And I'm gonna say, hey, Acris, if you're not reading anything, do you want to watch those over there? And I'll sort of motion to the newer books, because if this is a big player in Theros today, wouldn't that be happening now?
Isn't the history of the world just being written here?
Yeah. So
So you want me to look at everything happening in Theros as it's happening?
just sort of
And
skim to see if you see anything happening, like as we're moving. We might even be in there.
yeah, I mean, I can look at it.
I'm going to ask an investigation from you, but continuing on with what she was saying to you, Canathos, she says, "Yes, that's the history of Adonos and its peoples. You're likely going to want to look over here." And she walks down an aisle, gets on a stool, climbs up the stool, grabs this book. It's quite small, actually, and hands it to you and says, "That one might be... that should outline everything you would need to know about Orpheon." And the title of it is Legendary Traders of Theros.
Oh. Okay. I thank you, Seer, and I'm gonna sit down and start reading this.
Acris, you don't see anything with the 13. There's so much going on here that it's going to be there's so much information coming through here being written down all at once that you would have to be in 13 different places at once reading everything as it comes through in order to see it all coming in.
I am going to look. I know there's an entrance to the underworld in Setessa. I'm gonna try to find a book detailing if there's another. I'd probably be in some
After piecing through the underworld section, you can see you can find a book that outlines myth of one, at least people speaking of one. And furthermore, you can find that this goes beyond being a myth and is an actual factual path. It's something. It's a pathway out by Adonos, actually. With an ease, it's almost mirrored, essentially, if you were to flip. It's almost mirrored to where the Setessan one is. Whereas the one for Adonos is just a bit south of the Crypt of the Lost. The one in Setessa is just a bit south of where is it? The Winter Nexus. So it's almost essentially mirrored along an axis if you were to draw a diagonal line up.
Okay. That's valuable information for me. So I don't really have anything else I want to read, so I'm good.
Right. What you all find, I guess technically this matters more to Poggles, because Zelkos, what you find under your Karamitra texts are basically the bread and butter player interpretation and knowledge of what Karamitra is.
Cool.
And how Karamitra performs rituals currently, used to perform rituals, how she would cull civilizations if they got too close to the wilderness, and was once upon a time a very different goddess from what she is today. Almost in a night and day aspect. But you essentially find, short of me pulling out the player's guide to Karamitra, essentially full player knowledge on Karamitra.
Cool.
For you, Poggles, what you are able to get from Farika is relatively similar. You're able to figure out the general player background and player knowledge of what everything Farika is.
Yeah.
But what you're able to figure out more from this, what you're able to glean from this is, Farika very rarely makes Nyxborn. Moreover, she very rarely makes Nyxborn that aren't either snakes or gorgons in nature, and are very rarely anything but almost avatars of vengeance for her. Something that's supposed to go out into Theros and complete a task for her, or exact payment for her, or something of the like. And you don't feel that. You don't. You very much know you are Nyxborn of Farika, but you don't feel the need to go out and essentially hunt a charge or exact vengeance or look for payment. You're just you. You've just been living and jiving as yourself for so long that none of this really.
Good vibes only, Poggles.
Yeah. You don't really have any of those feelings. So I don't know if this is going to make you leave with more questions rather than answers, but you're definitely not the traditional Nyxborn of Farika.
Right. Cool.
At some point, I'm gonna look for a book on like either arcane spells or like secret arcane spells or stuff like that, and go place it by Valtos and place some food there that's gonna not be gross by the time he wakes up, so he has something to read and eat when he wakes up.
Well, you find a book of spells, but nothing terribly secret. You can probably take a guess that anything that's under the secret or forbidden arts might be
Under the
under
glass.
the glass pane.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's say, Canopus, you spend an awfully long amount of time reading this book, and while it's a small book, there's a lot in here, and you see tales of the great kings of the Leonin tribes out in Oreskos and how they've betrayed Akros, stories that you're all too familiar with. Likewise, you see stories of the kings of Akros claiming they would come to the aid of the king of Meletis and falling on their duties there. You're able to find a lot of this, and you really aren't terribly surprised at it because most of it's told and spoken of in folklore and myth and just stories. And but then you come across a large section, a section much larger than even that on the Leonin Kings or the rivalries between Akros and Meletis. You find a section solely devoted to who's called the Rogue General of Asphodel, a Catacros Orphean.
Sorry, what was the last part?
Catacros Orphean.
Okay, got you. And looking at it, Frank, it's mostly telling me about before I read the history of Orphean. Before this, is this mostly covering stuff after or before?
This is almost like a biography.
Okay, wow.
This is almost as if his entire life has been made out to just be one mockery after another of everything that goes on Theros. Or at the very least, that's what was recorded in this book, anyway.
Right. So, does it talk at all about since he you know where that last book ended up, where he got back with these weird companions?
No, actually. It doesn't actually have that written, which you find to be odd. Quite odd, actually.
So it ends
But
with him leaving?
it ends with him. It ends at a point where he returns from the underworld. And that's where it ends.
And he returned from the underworld is after chronologically when he went off into Satesso, right? And that first book ended?
He went to Satessa, and then events happened after Satessa, and the last thing would be him returning from the underworld.
Okay, okay.
Do we know how he died?
You know he's not dead.
Oh, he went into the underworld alive and left the underworld alive.
Yeah, we know he's not.
Right.
I mean, well, after I don't know if you said that in character, but if you did, I'll be like, wait, aren't the three sisters? Don't they live in the underworld? And now only two lives there, and one lives on the surface.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think he walked to the underworld with great purpose. Like, I think he wanted that, and he left with what he came for.
Exactly.
Ability to control fate more so than circumvent fate from the gods.
It is very concerning when we think about what Patrocentos has told us. Patrocentos has returned and was horrified of going back to the underworld. Whereas this guy just went in, managed to extract someone who I believe would have some measure of security, right, as a fairly important being, and then just waltzed out. It's almost like
I mean, or no one's
The
ever
gods-
thought of it. Right? Why
Yeah.
would the Fates want to leave, and who would need to guard the Fates? Suddenly someone comes looking for them.
Also,
Therapist not aware of this.
I was gonna say maybe Athreos could be an ally or an enemy, because if he stole her from Athreos, that does lead something else, you know? Like if he was stolen or given, it is really important here.
Well, the other point is remember that the Ashen Archons had, if they were any god at all that they were somewhat affiliated with, it was Athreos. Because Athreos doesn't care. Oh, again, now I'm kind of ad libbing because I don't know much about gods, but it sounds like from what they were saying that Athreos doesn't really care about power struggles and stuff. He just cares about getting souls, right? Like people when they die, they correct passage. So,
Athreos does his job very, very well.
right.
That's what I was gonna say.
So I don't know if there's any god that would sort of be. It sounds like Orpheon is not really opposed to just the gods as a concept. He's opposed to this whole destiny concept, like the fate thing.
Yeah, or the fact that the gods seem to. At least we know Patcher was big on the gods controlled my fate, and I'm mad about it. And I don't know how much of that came from the
Yes.
exact ideology of the general, and how much of it was sort of his own take on it.
This is wonder where, when we end up leaving this temple, where are we going to go? We have so many different leads and things to do.
Well, I think if we return the shears back to the underworld, maybe things can start to get under control. That's one. I mean, we also have 4 different things, right? So I think we just
Well,
do
the
whichever's
Shears thing is
easiest.
difficult. We don't know if she was stolen, if she's here willingly. We
Or
don't know
sup-
enough about if the Shears even want to go back or anything. We don't know.
Well, according
I was gonna say.
if we
Good.
follow the seers, so if we have, is the seer around, by the way, Frankie?
Yeah, she's just kind of like sitting on a chair looking at you all as you're talking.
Okay, I'm gonna say, well, if you want to trust the seer completely, no offense, turn back to them. We're supposed to kill the shears, so not really sure how that works. Now, if kill just means so that they're back in the underworld, then that maybe isn't the most difficult thing to do. But we have
Right,
to,
I'm wondering if it's easier to kill the Shear or bring her back to the underworld. I don't know which is easier.
because we were told to strike down the general but kill the sister, and kill usually means kill.
I'd also just like to raise one point that suggests we are. It might be foolish to think of these as isolated incidents because we have a lot that suggests that certainly 3 of these and perhaps all 4 are closely intertwined. So if we go to in pursuit of one goal, it's very likely we will both face the challenges and potentially reap the rewards of other goals as well.
Right.
Right, and find out a lot of information if they're all interconnected. So
Yeah.
that's true.
So it seems like heading to the Asphodel, we're probably going to be able to take care of most of our tasks, and the ones we don't take care of, we'll at least know where to look next. Or come right back here.
Yes, but again, we should be careful because, think about it. The Archon sounded very powerful when you 2 encountered him. Kane sounded very powerful when we encountered him. We haven't even met Orpheon yet, but he seems to be the leader of this all.
That is
Uh,
true.
Right, I'm not even sure we're strong enough to take Orpheon on in a one-on-one. I don't think, well, not one-on-one, but a group v group. I don't think.
Well, should we make our next objective seek some power before we seek some enemies?
I'm gonna turn to
Power our
Acreus
allies?
and say, I think Acreus might have been onto something with these treasures, these relics. The seer also mentioned something about potential treasures.
Well, yeah, I guess turning this here. So you know what's supposed to happen, right? And obviously it's not happening that way because we're here early, but in theory, you know what's supposed to happen, correct?
She nods her head.
So is there any tale of any weapons or powerful items that we are supposed to find next after leaving here? Or while we're here?
Some of you will be leaving with them.
Okay, well then we should start looking.
not so how it works yet.
Okay, well, then what are we supposed to do next?
She motions for the book that Canathos is holding.
I will provide her with the book.
And then she looks over at Acreus and she says, you should go get that book about the seers. She kind of like holds it for a second. The fates.
Okay, I'll go get the book I read in the Three Fates.
And then she looks at Canathos again and says, you should go grab me the book about... Well, you should go grab me the book Under the Pane of Glass.
Okay.
I'll bring it over to her.
No. She said that to Boggles?
Well, I don't know if I can
Anyone.
hear. Yeah, I was just gonna bring it
Oh.
over to her because I'm standing there still, just reading.
And then she looks over at Zelkos and says, go wake your friend up, or go make sure he's up.
Okay, I'm
I'm not supposed to say this more than once.
gonna politely, gently wake him up. Say, hey, here's some snacks. Here's some water. We're gonna go learn something important. Come on.
How long have I been? How long have I been asleep?
How many hours has it been?
You're gonna, after all this reading and everything, it's been a long day reading. You're just shy of your long rest.
Curses.
Just shy.
Well, like, but just hanging out can count for part of that
Yes,
time, or
which is why you're not actively exerting yourself either.
I think he's saying you're going to leave here with a long rest under your belts, is what he's trying to say.
You're going to leave here with a long rest under your belt.
so you got enough sleep. What was that?
I still had Boggles waking me up that one time though. So we're good.
All right, come on, drink some water.
And then she kind of like looks at everyone. She says, let's go to the Orrery. She walks over here. And then she grabs the book on famous traders. And then she grabs the book on the fates. And then she motions over to Poggles to give her the forbidden texts. And then she kind of like fastens them into kind of like depressions in the machine, like slots into this orrery in front of her. And then she does that with the first two, and she holds on to the Book of Secrets. And then she kind of says, whereas the statue in the back gives you unfiltered knowledge on what's happening around us, this is supposed to help
Focus it.
show exactly what you need. She says, I haven't used this in... She kind of just like trails off thinking. And then she kind of gets back to it and says, sorry. It was Orphean that you were looking for? Let's look at him. And then she kind of like starts twisting something, like a lever, and pulls on a knob, and then the orrery starts kind of moving. It starts rotating a bit, and you're all greeted in front of you with illusions that are essentially playing forth in the ceiling above you. And you can see this strapping young lad who you, somewhere inside of you, understand to be Orphean Catacross. You can see him go about his life in a manner of essentially slides that are just playing out before you. You see him as a young boy, playing in fields outside Asphodel, and you see a messenger come up to him, and a happy boy begins to look somber and sad as he runs back towards the town. The next image you see is this same boy standing before a bed with a woman who's clearly dead, sobbing in his hands, while an older man stands behind him, almost angry at the events unfolding before him. The next image you see is of this very, very clearly the same boy, but older now, at a military academy doing training, as you're very easily able to interpret Canathos. Going through the motions, practicing his sword swings, his strikes, blocking, parrying, etc. And then the next image is of travesty, of bodies just piled before him, or rather, above him, as you see him pushing bodies off of him and crawling out from this absolute massacre. As he looks up into the sky and is able to see two constellations kind of embroiled in conflict with one another, and you're able to make those out to be Heliod and Erebos, just kind of embroiled in conflict above, with bodies mounting and below.
Okay.
The next scene, or the next image that you see, is a still older Catacross, or even older Catacross, where he is standing on a battlefield overlooking a horde of rampaging Minotaur, with a constellation formed above him that you can make out with relative ease to be that of Erois, and the constellation above the marauding horde of Minotaur that you're able to make out to be Mogus. And alongside him is a detachment of some of the finest Akroan soldiers you've seen, clad in their armor. Alongside them, some Asphodelian soldiers, and who you're all able to make out as the legendary hero Haktos at the front of the charge. Catacross seems happy here. Orphean seems happy here, hell-bent on victory and poised to seal his victory at any moment. And the next image you see is that of, again, a massacre. You see Haktos dead with a black arrow through his lower chest. You see mountains of dead Akroan soldiers, and you see a retreating Erois as Mogus screams in the summer sky, with Orphean kneeling in shock and awe over this horrific defeat.
Damn, okay, so
The next scene, or the next image you see, is something happier. You see this broken man kneeling beside a bed with what looks to be a woman holding a small child. And this small child is, well, a freshly born baby. And this is the happiest you've seen this man. And the happiest you've really seen a woman before. This is clearly someone who's just endured childbirth and is now greeted with a baby girl. Though the next image is something that's a little more grim. You see before you the same man just an image ago, except he's greeting people at his door, and they're wearing unfamiliar garments, something that you haven't really seen widespread on Theros before. And any of you may make a history check, though, to see if you can glean anything from that.
Hit me.
All of you except for Valtos.
He's sleepy.
You're sleepy. I'll give it to Acreus too, considering your background, even though you technically need an 18 for it. I will give it to I'll give it to you, Acreus, for that. You recognize these to be acolytes of Athreos, and they're at his door, and there seems to be fierce conversation and harsh words being thrown at each other. The next image is that of these emissaries dead on the ground, with Catacrus's sword in hand, with their blood staining it. The image that follows is one of him kneeling by his wife's bedside. She's now almost mirroring what happened with the woman that you saw earlier, alongside that small boy who died in bed. She's assumed the same position and is sadly passed on. And the daughter that she was holding is no longer present.
Wow, okay.
The last image you see is him leaving Asphodel, walking into the Setson Wilds with nothing but his spear, his shield, and a sack on his back. And you now see a flurry of images of him encountering two satyrs, and these satyrs traveling with him. Him meeting Patrozantos, saw a familiar face, encountering him and Patrozantos traveling with him and using one of his ships to ferry him and his two satyr companions. They then have the ship sail towards Miletus, and from there, Patru makes an introduction between a familiar flaming swordsman and this now older man. From here, the group sails towards Adonos, and, well, the last thing you can see of him is a descent into a familiar-looking passage to you, Acreos. A passage that you could swear you've seen before in the Setson Wilds. The last image you see is him and his companions walking down this passage. And as you look up, you're able to see a very familiar constellation outlining the sky as you make out the constellation denoting the presence of Phaenax in the sky above. And from there, the seer kind of looks at everyone and says, and that's where all records of the great trader end. The one who sullied his devotion to the gods at every turn, and has now essentially started his own war against the Pantheon.
Yeah, so my character is obviously, it's a pretty sad story. I'm gonna turn to I guess I'll just turn to the group and sort of say, looks like Athreos is not his friend.
No, I mean, Phaenax was, but he betrayed Phaenax as well. We knew that already. But yeah, I don't think he's friends with any of the gods.
I'm wondering if Aetherios is actually the one he has the most problem with.
I mean, if he saw Aetherios as the one who finally took his wife and it seemed like daughter away,
Yeah.
then he's probably trying to bargain with them and really wasn't the right god to talk to, but he blamed him. So yeah, possibly. And I mean, anyone who stuck by him is certainly an enemy.
The seer removes the book and grabs the one about the Triad of Fates and puts it in and says, "This one should be happier." And she kind of like lets out a small smile, and she starts cranking the knobs and spinning dials and everything. Greeted with a familiar illusion above you. Not so much a story being told, but rather a procedure that's gone over. It seems like it's the writings of Athreos devotees and his oracles discussing how the fates come to be. Uh, you're able to divine from the images and the essentially what's being told to you that the fates are chosen and they live and they die exactly as mortals tend to live and die, though they have a more divine connection to Nyx and both Athreos and Erebos, considering their proximity to death and them living in the underworld. It's gone over that they're not, while they're considered a triad and they're all considered three sisters and a family in of themselves, they're not born truly born as sisters. Uh, they're volunteers. They are destined to take this position, to fulfill the role of a fate, and are destined to live their days in the underworld, making sure that the destiny of each citizen of Theros is fulfilled and Athreos is able to commit his job and ensure the wheels just keep turning. As you're able to determine from here and divine from this, the fates are replaced upon death, and they're often replaced with, well, young girls or babies just born to replace the ones that have just passed. And it is not, as you are seeing, as you see, it's considered a great honor to be selected.
Fuck, we're the bad guys.
It's considered a great honor to be selected for the Triad, though there have been instances of people denying and attempting to come between Athreos and his chosen fates, though
Yeah, there have been, really?
though life is generally not considered joyful for those individuals if they cross that of a member of the Pantheon. And then after that, the images fade, and the seer kind of looks sad, and she says, "Oh, I thought that one would be happier." And she removes the book, and then she says, "I the book." And she points over at Poggles. The book he's carrying. I'm not really sure if it's wise that I show any of you it, but I think it's necessary considering what's in store for you. And she
I'll
puts the
I'll
book-
avert my eyes and listen, or like
She-
look
Before,
up.
do I see anything on the book? Like, what is there a title on the book?
No, it's just a
Just-
bluish green cover, almost like a leather cover, a scaled cover.
Mm-hmm.
And she puts the book in, and she is very careful to set things properly. And she double checks it, unlike before, where she just kind of lackadaisically spun some knobs and everything. And she says, there is only 2 beings on Theros who know about this. Myself and, well, Crewfix himself. And I guess 2 is going to become 7. So...
8, and I'll point to the owl.
She looks at it, and she looks back at you and says, 8.
But that's owl. 8 died.
She goes, ha, ha. I recommend you save... I recommend you... And she just kind of says, I recommend you just watch. And she it starts playing an illusion. The illusion you see before you is not Theros. You can very clearly tell this isn't Theros. None of the architecture matches. Nothing really looks familiar to any of you. And what's more important here is you see what looks like a great serpent kind of flying or swimming through the sky. And then that serpent is followed by more serpents and more, and it seems like it's all actually connected at one point. And you now get a good picture of what's going on here. You're able to see an individual standing before this mass of writhing serpentine heads. An individual wearing a very familiar-looking outfit, though mask has been removed, or his helmet's been removed. And he's standing there facing off against this giant, massive entity. And this person you see before you looks the same build as the familiar swordsman Kano.
And it's not a Hydra, right? This thing I'm seeing, Frank. What is this snaky thing?
Well, you look at it, and this looks like a Hydra to you, but something's off. It's definitely not anything you've ever seen on Theros. You've heard the legends of Pol Kronos and the Setson Hydras, and
right.
This is a flying serpent with multiple heads.
Okay.
And I have a picture actually for chat.
It's not Kamigawa, is it?
So you see, the image that you see before looks like this.
God.
Was I right?
I don't know.
I can't
Are
remember.
you right?
I can't remember.
Going to Zendikar.
No. And you see this image of Kano and people standing behind him, confronting this massive creature. And this creature rears back, and all you see is a beam of pure light shoot from this being, and you hear Kano screaming, and then Kano wakes up and is no longer where he was with this serpentine spirit in front of him, but rather is standing somewhere completely different, standing on a giant leaf in a giant canopy, somewhere that also does not look to be Theros in nature or anything that you've ever seen in the Setson Wilds. And after that, you hear Kano let out a scream, a horrified scream, a confused scream, an angry scream, and it the image fades from there. And the Ori stops spinning, and the illusions fade, and the seer kind of looks at you, all of you, and says, "That's he's not from here."
Yeah, that looked like a pretty crazy monster.
Yes. Krufix doesn't share that with others. As he looks at, or she looks at Voltos and Eucanthos, and she says, as you both are probably knowledgeable of, Krufix has all knowledge on this plane, or on Theros. Anything that happens here, he knows about. He knows what everyone's thinking. It's a level of omnipotence that makes him very difficult to one up and very difficult to swindle. But sadly, or maybe not so sadly, maybe thankfully, Krufix is relatively aloof with his knowledge, and he tends to take the path of, well, least resistance, or he just generally lets things play out. And I feel as if the time to let things play out is long gone at this point, with what everyone's now facing. I think it's, if I get punished for showing you the texts, then so be it. But I feel as if that's information better suited than hidden away.
Well, if we end up talking to him, we'll have your back.
I don't think you will, but talk to him.
Oh.
Talk to him. I'm sure you'll have my back, but no one really talks to him.
Doesn't your wife talk to him? And I'll turn to Canthos.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
She Seer kind of looks and she says, it's more like riddles and strange signage. It's not really. One doesn't talk to Krufix like one talks to Helion. You just kind of have to accept what you get from him and make the interpretation from there.
Sounds right.
With that, she kind of like looks at you all and says, "Well, that was it. That's all I can really. That's all the information I can really give you. You're still welcome to use the library if you so wish, but besides that, that should be more than enough knowledge for you to be able to figure out what you're dealing with, at the very least."
You've been very helpful. Where do we go next for these weapons you said we should be getting?
I said some weapons. Some. She kind of like looks down and she says, she points. She kind of like closes her eyes and she points at Canathos, and then she kind of like swivels around and points at Acreus, and she says, "They get theirs today."
Nice.
I'm very happy, looking very happy at the prospect of this.
And then she kind of like looks up, and then she says, "Although I don't really know if it's supposed to work. They're supposed to receive it, I think today, maybe tomorrow. The rest of you are supposed to get your blessings soon, I think. Time's not." She kind of just rambles a bit. She says, "Okay, I'll be right back," and then she walks away.
So, what do we think that Hydra thing was?
I don't know.
Didn't
It
look
looked like
like a beast I've ever seen.
yeah, or a place I've ever seen. Like the clothes they're wearing, the architecture, everything just seemed odd. Maybe it's the other side of Theros or something. But he's clearly from. I mean, he's not from here. Therefore, that wasn't here.
Did any of y'all catch the name of Orpheus's daughter?
I think there were. I
See it.
don't think there's any dialogue in that piece.
I didn't give you her name.
I'll interrogate to see when she gets back.
Okay. After like 10 minutes, you guys can talk more if you want, but after about 10 minutes,
I would have been working on the lyrics for the tragedy of I can never remember his name. Our new Catacross Orphean. So I got my
Real
loot out.
question we have is to the party. That is, do we need to fix the damage that's already been done, or do we just need to stop it from continuing? We still don't know the answer to that.
Well, we've been told 4 fates, and I think the big question is it actually our destiny to follow them to the letter, or if this is a Temple of Krufix, is that just the first layer of a mystery?
Yeah, well, I certainly, after seeing that vision, starting to wonder if his methods and his methods may not be okay, but I understand his motives.
Right. I'd feel better if it was volunteers. I mean, everyone should follow their fate, but it's still not the best if you can't choose.
you all kind of hear like glasses shattering and stuff. Kind of almost sounds like it's falling.
I'm
And
gonna
then you all
run in that direction, full speed.
well, you all kind of hear as you're running, you hear "I'm okay," and if you keep running, you
Yeah,
run
100%.
out towards. So you run towards the area. You're going to run to about there, and you're going to kind of see her here on the ground with like a bunch of boxes and stuff around her. Hold on a second. And she's kind of like she clearly has fallen off
Yeah,
this
I'll
ladder.
I'll assist in like moving some of the boxes off her and help her get up.
That doesn't take long for her to get up. She thanks you and she says, she's holding a wooden box. It's a pretty long wooden box. And she says, this is for Acreus. You're not, is he still over by the orrery?
Acreus, come here. Presents.
I will run over. I run over.
She kind of like, she looks at you and she says, Crew Fix says that this should be yours. I'm supposed to tell you how it works and give you the guidelines for it. She says, I think you might recognize it, at the very least because you're from where it's from anyway. And she opens up the box, and you see this wicked looking arrow. If you want to give me a knowledge history with advantage or whatnot, you can. I'll even give you like a +3 on it or a +4 on it. Yeah. So you recognize this craftsmanship. Being from the underworld, this is a black arrow of Erebos. She looks at you and she says, it's not so much a legendary weapon as
legendary
munitions, I guess. This
what do they do?
Well, this is the arrow that killed Haktos. She kind of like just awkwardly hands it over to you, like pushes the box towards you, and she says it's I don't it's good at killing Hactos, so I guess it's probably good at other things too, probably wounding other people. I I would I would be careful with it, considering how you wouldn't want to like hit yourself with it. Also, I think it's a one and done. Fairly certain once you use that, it's gonna disappear, return itself to the underworld. So you're gonna want to use that when you really need it.
Okay.
She also says like she looks at you again and says I don't know how best to describe what it does other than it'll probably kill whatever you hit with it. That's all I really have for you.
Okay.
Player knowledge. You've received one Black Arrow of Erebos. I'm going to tell you exactly what it does. You can feel free to write it down. You get one shot with it. You get one shot. What this does is, if you hit with it, it will automatically cast Power Word Kill on your target.
Overkill. Okay.
So Power Word Kill specifically states if it has 100 or fewer hit points, it will die. This goes one better. What this will do if your target does not have 100 or fewer hit points is instead of doing nothing, as Power Word Kill would do, you will deal the following. Alright, yeah, I mapped this out properly. It's not going to seem like it's mapped out properly, but taking into account averages and everything, it's mapped out properly. You deal 40d8 piercing damage if it will not kill your target.
But
Holy.
sorry, you mean if it's above 100 health, it does that?
If it is above 100 health, you will roll 40d8.
Okay. Thank you, lady.
You get one shot.
So,
If you hit or miss, you get one shot with it.
so player, let's make sure one, we have advantage, and two, that I Bardic Inspiration you.
Or I
Yeah.
just cheat.
Or cheat. Cheating is
Actually
even better.
picturing the person throwing the spear at the end of Spires.
Yes.
And just missing.
Everyone's just watching. It's like, you got it, bud.
I was actually picturing Acreus unconscious on the ground and Canthos rolling up and just grabbing the arrow.
Just stabbing someone.
It's funny. Well, thank
Uh,
you. I am going to ask you, how did you get this?
It's kind of a long story. Well, Crewfix managed to get some followers to buy it from some guy. And then I had to go out and get it. It's not really supposed to be out of the underworld. But someone's been going down there and taking stuff. So
Yeah, I'll keep this safe. And if anyone asks where I got this, what should I say?
oh, you say you can get it. You can tell them you got it from me.
Oh, okay.
They won't believe you because they don't know I exist, but you can tell them you got it from me. I think that's kind of funny, right?
Yeah, I won't even be lying. I'll be telling the truth.
That's the best part.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to go send Canathos in.
What? Do I get called in? What happened?
Oh, she just kind of walks over to you and she says, "Can I see your shield and your sword?"
Of course.
And she kind of like looks down and starts like patting on her like robes. She says, "Oh wait, hold on." And she walks back over the ladder and starts climbing the ladder. And then she almost falls back and she kind of like braces herself and she grabs this like scroll. And she walks down and then she kind of like walks over to you again and says, okay. Can I just see your shield? Actually, it should work on both. Actually, can you put them both on top of each other, like the shield and the sword on top of it? I
Yep.
would, but they look heavy.
So I'm gonna like stack them up and then hold it out to her.
And then she like undoes this scroll and she just kind of like drapes it over your sword and shield, and then she holds her hands over it, and she says, "Okay, that's good." She then looks at you and says, "I've blessed that with I've blessed that with the highest blessing that Crufix could bestow a follower. Especially one of your martial prowess. When you first engage someone, when you first engage someone in combat, you must think to activate this blessing. You must think about something that matters to you in order to activate this blessing. For me, it would be most Crufix followers. It's like hidden knowledge or something. So I'm sure you're somewhat similar. And then you'll be able to activate the blessing. It's you're gonna be able to basically fight anything when you activate it. It's gonna give you the gift of foresight for the duration of your combat with whatever strikes the shield.
Okay. Is this a one-time use? No, right?
She looks at you and she says, "It's you're gonna use it, and then when your combat ends, this blessing will pass."
Okay.
You player know that when you activate this blessing, for the duration of your combat, you will be under the full effects of the spell Foresight.
Holy shit.
You
Never-
will essentially be able to see slightly in the future.
What?
Foresight.
I just
For the
like it.
duration, the target cannot be. Yeah, go ahead.
You? I was just looking it up.
Yeah, I just put it in the
Yeah.
You know, you could just push
Holy-
the button, but that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Legendary warrior, by the way.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
And she like quietly nods. And she says, "We should go back into the orrery room." She just kind of like walks to the door, expecting you to keep moving.
Yep. I will.
And then she kind of like looks around and she says, "The three of you have blessings coming too, but I'm not supposed to give those out." She looks up at the orrery. She says, "I also think it's probably close to time, so yeah, you're probably gonna want to get your rest in." With that, she kind of like looks around and says, "All right, I'm gonna go back to the statue."
One
Hey,
quick question before you leave.
yeah.
What's the name of Orpheus' daughter?
Her name's Amara.
Thank you.
I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not.
It's no big secret, right?
She's probably in the book of the Asphodel book, so it's probably not that big of a secret. She looks around. She says, "Are there any more questions?" I'm tired. I want to go back to the bench.
Do you happen to know where Phoenix's boon is?
The boon? What?
That made made whoever had it or used it invisible to the gods.
She blinks a bit. She's very clearly thinking. And then she says, "That's probably why." Okay, I guess that makes sense. And she says that. She looks at you. She says, "That's probably why that book doesn't go past him going into the underworld.
All right, so
He's probably got a boon of Phaenax that's stopping him from being tracked by Krupix. So the books can't, or the styluses can't update the text. For all intents and purposes, he doesn't exist on Theros right now, according to these books anyway." She looks somewhat happy. She's like, "That would make sense. Normally they don't ever screw up unless Phaenax is involved. So, and I didn't know there was a blessing or anything. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Thank you. I was losing sleep over that."
So, squad, that means they probably found it in the underworld. Or he found that boon of Phoenix in the underworld.
Or Phoenix gave it to him before he went to the underworld, because we did see Phaenax before they went through.
Yeah, it might not have had to activate it until he wanted to. Might have wanted everyone to know he went in the underworld. Oops, never came back. Guess he's dead.
back with his daughter.
That means he has it, though. So at least we know where it is.
Assuming there's only one.
I'm assuming that
Sure, if
even
I can
flop,
kill.
this could just be Phoenix blessing him in some fashion. We don't even know how it works.
Yeah.
But we do know that Phaenax had buyer's remorse or seller's remorse.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Big time.
What
What if-
do we,
Okay,
I'm
go
not sure what we want to do now.
I'm
What-
gonna turn to the group and say, can we really kill this man's daughter?
I mean, I think we can talk to her first. I don't think we should ambush her, shoot her with a black killer arrow from a
Foreseen
distance.
that we will kill her, though.
Do we think she knows she's the daughter of this guy, or do we think that she's somehow forgotten everything?
I think it's likely the
She's
reason
a
she went
fae.
with him. Like, I don't think she would have. I think that's a strong hypothesis for why she went with him so easily in a way that seemingly defies expectations.
I guess
Agreed, though. I'm not sure what we should do right now.
I think that is certainly my big question: is do we act as we're told, as the gods said, and fulfill our great destinies, or do we ask some questions along the way?
Well, what happens if we don't kill this guy or her? What happens?
We don't know yet.
What happens if we do kill them? What do we stop?
Supposedly, it would bring Theros back to the way it's meant to be.
Bring the gods back into it. I want to kill the Archon.
Yeah,
He's
I
gotta
think
go.
that's the easiest on my conscience and easy to make a legendary tale out of.
Also
Once
has the
again,
added
though,
benefit of helping Akros.
Yeah.
Let's not forget our end goal here. We gotta turn the shearing off.
Yes.
If that means we gotta kill her, we gotta kill her. If that means we can talk to her and get her to stop, then so much the better. But
true, but I can't help but feel like a existential threat to one of the great city-states of Theros is more of my priority right now than even letting the gods speak to us again.
Yeah, and also, I think of the threats we've found, the Archon's probably the one we'd need the arrow on the most, right? I mean, this general is, blessed by Phaenax and all, but personally, I'm more scared of the Archon. I don't know about you all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't plan on using this and I hold the arrow out until we're basically at death's door. Like, unless
Yeah.
things are looking like we're not going to win without it.
Yeah, no,
Well, that's fair. I
think
guess
that's wise.
I often
Here's the
forget
other
we're
side, though.
quite blessed already.
If we fix the connections to the gods, they might just fucking deal with the Archon for us.
Right, or give us invaluable information on everything that's going on. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're supposed to do things in order, because the order was depose the false god, strike down a rogue general, kill a lost sister, and cast down someone who's not from here. Once we do those four things, things can start to be mended, and it's
Also,
not clear if that's in order.
if the Archon commands an entire army, do you think we're capable of just bombarding through an entire Minotaur army and killing the Archon?
I mean, you snuck by.
I can walk by because of this, and I'll point to the brand, but I can't kill everyone, and I don't think. Do you think you can all kill an entire Minotaur army?
I think we can get him out
No.
in front of the army. He seems very arrogant and not the brightest.
That is true. That is true. He does lead from the front, but
Like, getting a shot at him is not my concern. Whether or not we can actually kill him is another matter. But
right.
I mean, we could find someone who can send messages across the plains and send him a message say, "Hey, we found some cool stuff. Come conquer it, please."
let's also not forget that Kano is somewhere.
Also,
Yes.
lads, the thing that I think we all might have slipped is it looks pretty. There seems to be that Minotaur that we ran into, the Nyxborn Minotaur, may in fact be the same Minotaur that Orphean left the underworld with.
Ooh, I like that.
So I don't know how long or how unrelated the Archon really is from Orphean. If the Archon needs Orphean, he may come.
If I am also, I mean, Frank, going back to that book I read, was there anything about Archons going like dormant or being trapped away or like going into hiding or anything? Like why? What?
You know that Archons that didn't toe the line and didn't work with the gods were imprisoned.
Okay, so yeah, I'll explain. Reading that passage that
Where
it's very
were they
possible.
imprisoned?
Yeah, that.
They were imprisoned.
Where? Do we
That
know
could
where?
be in the underworld.
I'll-
That could be in. That could be in the underworld. That could be underground. It could be with like big chains. It could be. They could be put to sleep, locked in time,
Do
etc.
we think Athreos or the two sisters in the underworld have answers for us, or is that a waste of time?
I think we can find pretty much anything we want here if we ask the right questions.
Do you think we can talk to Athreos? I don't. I thought we can't talk to any of the gods really.
Yeah, it'd be the faiths, but then like, what can they actually tell us?
Well,
Or would
unless
they
we
want to?
unless we go to the gods. If we go to Nyx or to the underworld, I'm sure the gods are still there. They just can't talk to or control much on Theros right now.
Right. This all hinges on how and why, or the third fate was extracted. I'm still unconvinced that she left willingly, even though she's his daughter. But I'm unsure.
Or she did leave willingly because she's his daughter, and now that's why we've been tasked to kill
Right.
her.
It's either that or the other way around, where he selfishly wants his daughter back, even though she's not really even his daughter anymore, more or less.
She's also
True.
helping him, like affirmatively helping him, right?
Right, she was given a
She is
choice.
the
Now
Shears.
she was given a choice, it sounds like, and she followed it.
And
choice.
even though she may be conflicted, or foresight suggesting that we need to slay her, makes it difficult for me to think that she is innocent in all this.
She's also completely vital to Orpheus's plans.
Yes.
Do we
Poor
think?
Phoenix.
Okay. Well, I guess it comes down to this. Do we think we have a better shot of taking down many Minotaurs in the Archon, or the General and or his daughter? Which of those do we have a better chance of doing right now?
Let's not forget Kano somewhere, but yes.
I mean, isolated Kano is actually, I think, our ideal.
Do we? I don't think we have a single lead on him though. It's going to be
No,
really hard
but-
to wander the world.
I do think that the Archon has an
I
easy
mean,
path of communication with Orpheus.
We have
we
all
do have a
information
lead.
on the plane except for Orpheus at our disposal.
True.
Yeah, we could go to some of the recent books. I mean, there's a part of the story that says Zelkos used his charming magics on Kano and left him in the sewers until Kano went too.
Yeah, I think we go for Kano actually, because if he's not with Orpheus, like Orpheus and the Shears are believed to be together, and I do think that the Archon's Minotaur that we ran into is a potential tie to Orpheus as well. Whereas Kano does not seem. Kano very well might be with Orpheus right now, but if he's not, I don't think Kano has that same kind of ability to.
My only concern is if we're discussing power levels and who is more powerful than the other, a being from outside Theros that was going to fight a giant snake creature might actually be incredibly powerful, like beyond our
Right.
reckoning. In the
Our
same way that
alternatives
we're
are a literal army, the kingpin of the entire operation, who this man is subservient to, and the shears, which imply involvement from all three.
Wait, player, I might have misinterpreted that snake vision. I thought this Hydra thing almost blessed Kano.
I thought
No,
like
Kano was gonna
blasted
kill it,
it.
I think.
I thought Kano was like coming to fight it, and this thing was like Kamehameha blasted him with like divine energy and
I was
I
banished
thought
thinking
she
him.
that
blessed him.
Frank,
I thought she,
how
like,
did we
powered him.
interpret that scene?
The interpretation here was not a blessing. This was
Okay.
a obliteration.
Okay, I thought it was like a beseech, a blessing, and she gave him some godly power and then teleported him or something. Okay, that's fine.
What were we supposed to do with Kano specifically in that prophecy?
Cast down,
Cast down.
depose, strike down, kill, cast down.
That's interesting.
Well,
It doesn't gain us anything though, right? It doesn't solve our problem in any way.
right, I'm trying to figure out how Kano is involved in any of this.
I mean,
I don't.
I think if my best guess is like, if we did it in order, and we strike down the Archon, great. Now there's no looming threat to Theros in this moment. Then we strike down the Rogue General, the one who's the kingpin pulling all the strings, and then we take out the Lost Sister, the tool, the sort of the tool that has been used to break all these fates, and then finally the one piece that even Krufix himself can't really comprehend, the one who, if left alone, would begin everything anew and start a completely new path that we can't even begin to dream of as residents of Theros. He's the last sort of missing. He's the last unknown. He's the big unknown for us and for Krufix. So I think that's why he's on the list. If we do the other three and let Kano run free, in time he'll come up with a way to undo the way Theros is meant to be.
Well, see, something else that's very confusing is I think the seer told us that someone will probably need to die, which means there's something in the underworld we don't understand yet. There's
Yeah, that
something.
cast down.
Well, because
yeah.
what didn't someone said, I think it was the seer, that one of you will probably need to die, which means there's something extremely
Correct.
important in the underworld that I don't know yet.
It doesn't necessarily mean there's something in the underworld. We might just need to die to accomplish a thing.
But I don't. Do any of these four things seem like we need to die or be in the underworld for just yet? I'm confused what that means.
Well, I mean, there's lots of ways someone might have. For all we know, yet one has to sacrifice themselves to defeat an Archon. For all we know, to kill a fate, one must end their own life. There's so many unknowns with those two beings at least.
Let's go back to the Archon for a second. He's going to Acreus, right? Acreus.
He's going to Akros
what's
with his
Akros,
Minotaur
okay.
army.
Yes.
Yeah, the Minotaur army is headed to Akros.
Acreus has an army. The Minotaur has got an army. What if we just get him there?
While the fight's going on, if he's leading
Yeah.
from the back, or just in the melee, it's possible.
I mean, we can try.
you're saying try to join the defense of Akros to stop this guy?
Yeah, and while we're there, see if we can kill him.
Yeah, I mean, in some sense, if we don't have a way of getting stronger quickly, going to where the action is seems to be the way. I'm very reluctant to travel to Asphodel. It seems like sailing into the Lion's Maw.
Yeah, I don't mind the idea of sailing into Akros, turning our boat around so we're ready to go in a hurry, and heading into battle, and either waiting through the melee to find the general and challenge him, or the Archon challenge him, or
This
flee for another opportunity.
this is also assuming that the battle hasn't happened yet and that the
True.
city is still standing. We're going to
can
be
find
gone
out.
for a very long time.
We can find out what's going on currently, but
We can.
Yeah,
Well,
let's do that because if the city is already sacked, things are very different. So I'm not very good at quick reading. Someone who's good at quick reading should probably find where this happened in one of these history books.
So the sealer
Hey.
is sleeping, right?
Yeah, you
Right.
can go wake her up if you need.
No, I'm not gonna wake her
She,
up.
Yeah, basically
you
just
know
asking
where
if we-
she
So-
currently is.
Frank, we've probably watched several books animate onto the shelves. Do they tend to go all sort
They
of like
tend to
at
go
the
by
end?
section.
Okay, so I'm gonna run back to like some of the recent ones and find like if there's maybe one on Akros or Archons.
I'm looking for the Ashen's book. Drazov the Ashen?
Yeah,
Is that
I'll
his
show
name?
you that book and hand it to you.
What's the most current contents in that book, Frank?
Oh yeah, and Frank, do they like update some do some of these books like get animated
Oh,
back
yeah, some
to
of
the
these
shit?
books you
Okay,
see people, you see some of the books float out and then go to styluses and they
I
get
see.
updated. So, all right, let me see. So, the Archon book doesn't really have anything with regards to a name associated with this Ashen Archon. It just kind of gives you information on Ashen Archons and like what they're known for, what they can do, their abilities and stuff like that. Basically documented stuff. That's generally because most of the Archons don't really follow a naming convention, and they don't really have names anymore. If you they're just kind of like faceless beings that serve the gods. So you wouldn't find anything of this Archon in this book anyway, about Archons to begin with. With regards to finding stuff about Akros,
I think El's just looking for like the most recent chapter on the Archon to see where he's at currently, more or less. Unless I'm wrong, El.
sure.
That's what
like,
I was thinking,
okay, sure. With regards to Akros, you know that the city is currently being besieged.
All right. Well, how many days of sailing would it take right now if we left to get to Akros?
And also turning to Canthos, how long do you think Akros could hold a siege? Hours, days, weeks, months, years?
Normally I'd say months, if not years, but the nature of this threat is sort of unprecedented.
Sure.
Can we ask Poggles to ask Farika if it's a good course of action? Or should we save that for later? AK,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
asking
fine.
if you should all agree. You know what I mean? Like, I'm wondering.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Poggles has never led us astray before.
Yeah. Like
Well, how do we word it, though?
Yeah.
What do we word? How do we word what we want to ask? We gotta be
Is-
very.
Should we head?
You're asking?
Should we head to Akros?
No, you're asking for the outcome of an action.
Right.
So be killing the Archon. We're going to Akros to kill the Archon.
Right. Is going to Akros to kill the Archon like feasible or a good idea or something like that?
I whipped out the pipe and it's still warm.
When's it not warm?
True. Preach.
Big facts. Big facts.
So the question you're asking is,
What was it? If we're going to Akros is the right decision?
Is going Akros to kill the Archon something? I don't know what that something should be, but is going to Akros to kill the Archon
would be our first step.
Yep. Wheel woe, wheel and woe, yada yada.
I'm trying to find it on my thing. Star map.
It's just a spell.
Is it a spell?
But you might be able to cast a spell through your star map? I don't know how that works.
I should have it because I don't remember taking it off.
Let me see. It's probably under your features and traits, but I'll double check.
Well, I think I may have taken it off by accident.
Guidance? Is it called guidance?
No, that's a cantrip. Wait, wasn't it part of your magic item?
No, it was like a. It was augury.
Yeah, you can use your star map to cast augury.
All right, yeah, just
Maybe when I updated my spells, I didn't add it, but I have it.
yeah. I just clicked it from whatever was on.
So is going
Also,
to Akros
Note that
a good,
thing costs money.
His doesn't.
is going to Akros a good idea? Like the question is, should you go to Akros to confront the Archon?
Yeah, should we go to Akros to confront the Archon? Good results, bad results.
Oh, that snake's nodding their head like wheel. Like, you should go.
Okay.
Alright.
Sounds good. Then I think we know what we should do, guys.
Do we want to set out
Um,
now? Do you all need to rest?
I mean, if you want to ride, you just woke up.
I
I'm gonna
just
go
woke
sleep
up.
on the ship. So if you want to drive alone in the night, you know. Well, night? I don't even know if we're at. I don't know
I
what
think
time.
we should rest here before we go. This is probably the last time we'll have a haven like this in a long time.
Yeah.
What time of day is it, Frank?
It's like late afternoon.
We set out early next morning then. Tomorrow morning.
Alright.
Okay, so you guys rest here for the evening. As the seer said, there's plenty of beds. You've got dried foodstuffs and the like. And there's really no need to set up a watch.
Right.
That being said,
But I'll ask Owl to keep an eye on us.
sure.
And I will
That being
sleep in my
said,
hut.
Partway through the evening, you're all kind of like in your beds or in your hut or whatever. Acris, you feel something. It feels like your arm's on fire.
Okay, I'll wake up and jump out of bed and stare at my arm.
It's not on fire, but it feels like it's on fire. Really,
Okay.
really hot.
I'm going to look at the brand on my wrist, assuming that might be the source.
So when you remove the the jewelry piece, the bracelet that Ugo gave you, you see that the brand is pulsing red. And when you remove the piece, it stops hurting. It no longer burns you.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, you hear like where are you sleeping?
In one of the beds for once, because there are 1,000 beds here.
You hear like a knocking on your door, and the seer kind of like just opens it up and says, "Oh, you already know. It's time."
Wait, no, what? What do you mean? No, I don't know. What?
No, your brand. It's time for you guys to get going.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What does this mean?
That's the Archon's starting to move,
Oh, okay.
and I was. The statue said when your mark lights on fire, you need to move. I think anyway. It was you on fire. Either your arm has to light on fire, or it needs to be glowing red, or you need to light on fire. The visions aren't
Instructions
really
unclear.
They're not really. I have to interpret them. So I think that's the sign that you're supposed to go.
Yeah, I think this probably also means the Archon is mobilizing. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Understood.
Well, it's kind of early morning, but you guys are all good.
All right. Well, I'm gonna turn to Seer and say thank you very much.
Oh, you don't have to thank me. You were supposed to do this.
Still, thank you for. You could have been mean about it.
I guess that's fair. I wasn't supposed to be. It didn't tell me I was supposed to.
Alright, so you could have chosen to be mean or nice. You chose to be nice, so thank you.
When you
Your
say
hospitality
chosen,
was lovely.
when you say chosen, she kind of looks at you quizzically, like I don't really. Okay.
All right.
She says, I guess. Do you want to like go out through the storm again?
If there's a way to not go through the storm, we would love to do that.
Do you want to take your boat?
The
I would like to
Wayfarer.
take my boat.
What's the other option?
I could just put you there.
What do you like? Teleport us? What do you mean
Guess
put?
it's kind of port.
Can you move things, or can you only move people?
She kind of like puts her hand to her head. She says, "I can like open a portal. And you can like walk through."
Could you open one big enough for the boat?
She thinks about it.
Or if
I don't
not, could you
think
get us
so.
away back here to come pick up our boat later?
You need another boat for that.
Okay, I think we might be sailing, unless we want to give up our boat for good, and I don't think Valtos is in the mood for that.
I am not in the mood for that.
What are we
You're correct.
supposed to do? Are we gonna... Well, I guess maybe that's another question
She
for...
looks at you. You're supposed to get there. I don't.
Yeah,
Why don't
time
we-
is of the essence.
Do we have 10
So-
minutes?
She looks at you and she says, "You can make choices. I can't."
Why don't we ask Farika? Should we, if taking the boat is a good idea?
Has it been? Where's the bottom part of augury?
It's like after. It's a 25% chance.
Well,
of
no, it's
not
before
working.
completing your next long rest, and we did it before the long rest.
Sure.
Okay, I guess yeah. Ask
Yeah.
the snake. Ask the snake god.
Should we get there as fast as possible?
I guess I would word it as: is leaving the boat here a good idea?
Yeah.
Like
that's
that.
what we're gonna do.
That's a big wheel and woe.
Uh-oh.
That's a wheel and woe right there.
Understandable.
Well, Captain,
All right, if we take this portal, y'all are helping me steal a boat, and we're coming back to get my boat.
all
that-
right.
I will sign off on
Can we
that.
even get back here?
Do you question our captain?
No, I'm like, is the island gonna move?
Oh, maybe.
I'll just find the island with the storm around it.
And she and she says that, but also no, the island doesn't move. It'd be inefficient to have the storm move.
All right, so we will steal a boat later.
Because that's what we're supposed to do.
No, I mean,
Yep.
Jews. Okay.
Wait, is there anything on the boat that we need?
Question.
Yes, there is contraband on the boat, I think, unless we got rid of that.
Oh no, I think it's very there.
It's very there.
Did
It
we-
can stay there though?
Did we take everything that was useful?
Yeah, I think we just have food and rope and things like that.
Like
don't
all
think
like the crazy magic items we ended up identifying and taking, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
they're on us at the
Yeah,
moment.
let's just leave the contraband. We'll come back for it later.
Yeah, I'm not really sure it's gonna be. That's what we're trying to do.
All right, they'll portal us away then.
Sure.
gonna draw my rapier and my
I
get
guess
my
it's
flute
gonna
out.
be weird for you to understand because you're gonna guess. You're gonna be like, that doesn't work here, but you don't really know where you are. She walks over to a door and then she's kind of like, okay, hold on, and she says, oh, I need to go get it. And then she walks back up into this room over here. And then she comes back, and then she looks at you all and she's like, okay, come over to this door. You want to go to Akros?
Do we want to go into Akros or near Akros?
Let's go to the temple with our friend there.
Oh, wait,
He
is
has
that in
a
Akros?
favor.
Wait, is
Wouldn't,
that in
Right.
Akros?
wouldn't
It's
temp-
an
Yeah.
Akros.
if Akros has already been lost, temples are the only place we don't want to be.
It's under siege. It's not lost yet, though, currently.
Yeah, it's not. My arm just started burning, so I think the siege is just starting.
And if the Archon's going to Akros,
So getting out of Akros might be tough unless we think the general's gonna break in, or the Archon's
Well,
gonna break in
also-
right away.
If the town is under siege, getting in is going to be very difficult as well.
True. I guess it's easier to get out. We can always climb over the wall. with
I
the
like
rope.
Poggle's idea. Let's go to the temple area.
let's go to the
Oh
temple area.
my
Those
god.
are good potents. Those are good portents. She
Wait.
says,
What if we crit on the arrow?
the temple to what? Is it the-
Isn't
the-
there
Oh,
like
yeah.
a central area with all the temples where like they're all located, or was that not in this town?
No,
that
because
was
remember,
Venice, but-
yeah. Remember
want-
you had to like go
hold on.
get me?
Let's just go to the kitchen in that temple we were at before.
Yeah, Yanis.
Yanis, yeah. And we can get him
Oh,
to shut
okay.
up about it.
You then say, oh, okay. Hold on. She walks over to a book. She opens it up. She says, oh, that's not a kitchen. Then she walks back and says, okay, so you want to go to that not kitchen?
What do you mean it's not a kitchen?
Okay. And she takes out a diamond and she like puts it in the doorway and she's like, all right, hold on.
Hold on. What's the room that's the kitchen, but not a kitchen?
It's not a kitchen.
Then what is it?
She doesn't call it a kitchen. Yanis calls it a kitchen.
Okay, let's go to that room. We'll
go
figure
to
out
that
what
room.
it is.
Yep.
Remember, it just had a water basin and like nothing else.
It was the kitchen. Yanis called it the kitchen.
A place where one prepares food. The kitchen.
And then she says, okay, you guys have to go through quickly. I'll keep your vote here. It's the first boat to make it here in a while anyway, so it'll be nice to have it here. Okay, she like draws up like in the air like a door, and then it starts like light starts radiating out of the diamond and just beams up to where she was drawing the doorway, and she says, okay, you guys can go through.
We go through?
Thank you, Seer. Yeah, and I'll go through.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yep.
Step on through.
We'll go.
She kind of like waves. And then you all go through. And you go through the gate, and then once you get through the other side, the gate closes. And the five of you are currently standing in Yanis's kitchen. Now,
Looking for Yanis.
before any of you say, you can't use gate to teleport on a plane. You have to use it to teleport to a different plane. You were on a different plane. You weren't on Theros.
But also, I would not have said that.
Yeah, I think Elle's the only one who would even know that interaction.
No.
I'm also
the Theros
big
gods
on.
can do what they want.
Yeah, I'm also big on
It's how Theros
throw away
works.
the damn spell rules when powerful enough things come into play.
Yep.
Oh, well.
But now we have more information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought one of you was going to call. I thought Elle in particular was going to be like, you can't do that. You were on Theros. You're not. You can't do Theros to Theros.
No.
I mean, you
Gods
literally
Theros
you
can do
just gave
whatever
us
they
an
want
arrow
on
that's
Theros.
a spell, but slightly different.
Yeah,
Spells are a
Because-
starting point.
because worth noting that fucking powered kills sucks.
I mean, it's good
It's a
against
nice
like
meme.
I think it's cool that like you can walk up to any like mortal, like not heroic being and just go die.
It's a more powerful meme, which I think is quite valuable.
Well,
Power
there's a
word
nice
meme.
meme about two wizards using
Yeah.
power killing each other, but they both have more than 100 HP, so nothing happens.
So
Yeah,
they just
that's
like bounce
right.
off each other. Pew pew. Oh.
Well, that's the thing about it. I
Well,
looked
there's
at it,
no
I was like,
saving
this is
throw.
stupid. I want this to do something, and that's what I was doing before everyone got on. I was mapping out averages. I'm like, this is actually good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna save it for a poetic moment. Don't
See,
worry.
There is one caveat with power kill, and that's the wording on it. If I can land a polymorph on something, we can just kill it. And it
Because
dies.
they die instantly.
It doesn't go to 0. It dies.
Yeah.
Does it need to be
Oh,
true polymorph?
It doesn't have to be. It could be anything. You're a squirrel, you have 2 HP.
Is there any?
Power kill.
Is there a sage advice on that?
Not that I'm aware. Well, actually, I don't know. I haven't looked. I just thought the wording was strange with polymorph existing.
right, because the dying is different than reduced to 0
Yeah,
HP, right?
yeah. Polymorph ends when they're reduced to 0.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it'll ever come up, Frank. So I wouldn't be worried, but maybe it will.
There's almost certainly a sage device that says no. The wording.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure there's a moment where the DM is like, absolutely not. Nice try.
Also, if you shoved
Uh,
polymorph through somebody's resistances, yeah. Sorry, Franco.
A true polymorph. Just turn him into something. So you're in Yanis's kitchen.
What do we hear outside? Does it sound like battle or something, or is it
It
pretty
is
calm?
eerily silent. Even for Yanis's kitchen standards.
I'm gonna sound incredibly shoehead. Is this the town with Ugo?
No.
This is not the town. with
Okay. I thought that, but I just wanted to double check.
This is Sparta.
Yeah.
Who goes in Athens?
We did not find Yanis, you said?
No, it's quiet here.
Well, guys, let's split up and look for clues.
And break.
Gotta look for. I'm looking for any sign of Yanis.
Well, when you leave the kitchen out into the main. Yeah, let's go over here. You don't need to be in Sears Temple anymore. When you leave the kitchen and go out to the main room of worship, you can immediately tell, seeing as how there's basically glass above you, like open skylights. The sky is red. This isn't a. You also know that it's late in the day. Rather, no, you already rested. It's early in the morning. The sky is red. This isn't.
Red sky at morning.
Hmm?
I said red sky at morning. No.
Sailors take a warning.
But sky's red. It seems like it's red and smoky and not really the bright sun that you expect to shine on a temple of Heliod in the morning.
Okay.
That's the first thing you notice. The second thing you notice is that there's no guards here. There's no priests here. It doesn't really seem like there's anyone doing any morning worship. And it should be the time that you would see priests or anyone really performing worship to Heliod, being the morning. So, that is odd, to say the very least.
I am just worried for Yanis. I'm not sure what we should do.
We should probably go find the military leader to figure out what's happened so far.
Yeah, we could go find the general.
I don't know if we should though. He's just gonna try to enlist us in the
Try to
defense
enlist
of
us,
the
yeah.
city. Yeah.
Good point.
what's our other option? Just wander around waiting for the siege?
It's already being sieged. We knew that already. And the Archon's coming here. I suspect we'll know when that happens.
Yeah. You want to just to be fair, Yanis is not really a priority for us to find. Being like we are
He would
more
be a good
worried.
source of information as to what's been going around
Yes.
lately, but you could do a quick
I mean-
search at the temple, though.
Do you want to just send Owl out and see what the situation is on the walls, maybe?
Good
Yeah.
call. Good call. We'll do that. I'll do that while you guys do whatever else, I guess.
Sure. Well, it doesn't take Owl long after flying out of the temple to see what's going on. And by association, you see what's going on. You see sea on fire. The siege just very clearly started and is still going, but you can tell that parts of the city, various blocks and districts are already swarming with Minotaur, and it seems like they are trying to be divisioned off by the Crowan military to try and hold the inner parts of the city. But this is a grisly sight, a very grim scene. What's going on before what you see before you? You don't really see civilians or anything. But you definitely see a large cadre of military officials, being soldiers, leaders, generals, etc., captains, what have you, and people filing towards what you know to be one of the gates that sections off the city, and that's what Owl sees.
Are you narrating this?
I am narrating this.
Do you see the Archon?
You do not.
But it does look like we found where the action is.
The action is definitely here.
But is the play to wait until the Archon shows up, or just fight? Like, what do we want to do? I'm hesitant to get roped into fighting endlessly until the Archon shows up, but I also don't want to do nothing, so I'm not really sure.
I definitely think getting enlisted is not good either.
Yeah, I think we should do nothing until the Archon shows up, or we should leave and go find the Archon.
Right.
Do you have any way of finding the Archon? Anyone have any magics?
I have one idea. I take off the brand and just ask a Minotaur, where's the Archon? And he'll say, that way.
Not a bad idea.
You gotta not get caught while you're doing it, but
If I get caught, I'll just sprint away. I'm quite fast.
okay.
Alright. Frank, I'm just gonna sneak around until I find some Minotaur
And
outside the town.
I'll follow at like 50 feet away, just so I can cast spells if necessary.
Presumably you guys are stealthing, right? To avoid
Yeah.
both guard and
Yep.
Minotaur until you're ready.
Yes.
So both of you will provide me stealth rolls then.
But I am sneaking around as a guard.
Okay, so I will give you an advantage on your stealth roll.
Oh, stealth or performance?
Well, I'm gonna stealth, but I don't.
Actually,
You know,
that's a fair point. I'm gonna pretend to be
fair
a guard
point, yeah.
who, of a higher rank, who knows what they're like doing and is like no one's gonna call me out and be like, hey, what do I
Give
do?
me a performance then. That
So-
I'll buy.
Is that performance or
that's good.
deception? Because it's
No, you're performing.
okay.
You're an actor.
Because I do have the actor feat, which says I can roll deception with it. You get +1 charisma and your advantage on deception and performance checks when trying to pass. Okay, so I have advantage on this. So
Yeah.
that's a 27.
Okay.
Okay, well, you guys are good.
Or that's yes. Okay.
Okay. Acrace is pretty easy for you to follow, seeing as how you do this often. Um, and there are a number of times, Zelkos, where it seems like a soldier or guard's gonna approach you to like demand that you get back fall in line. But you deftly show them that you're their superior officer. What are they doing talking to you? And they kind of shoo them off and command them back to the front. Um, as you also conveniently walk to the front, but in a different direction. Uh, so from your time in the city past, you got a pretty good idea of the layout and from what Canthos has said about it. What you saw, or at least what Owl relayed back to Baltos, um, you know of a couple of ways to get to where the quartered off districts of the city. You could proceed through there with relative ease. There's no one that's really getting in your way since all the guards are preoccupied or Zelkos is maneuvering them to where they should be or where he believes they should be. You do, however, see some wretched and dispossessed individuals who are just kind of on the street, be it looting shops or seeking some form of shelter, taking advantage of the general situation before them, uh, or just trying to survive the situation in front of them. Uh, they don't really pay you much mind, but upon seeing Zelkos, those who are looting start running off into the distance, and those who are looking to survive and looking to better their odds, they start approaching you, Zelkos, like begging you to help them and lead them to where they need to go.
I see. Remembering that the temple was quiet, I'm gonna give them directions to there and say hide in the kitchen. That should be a safe enough place for now. And then I'll also direct them to either there or Carmetra's temple area, farmland, whatever's closer actually, or further from the walls.
It would be the Heliod Temple would be
Then
the
yeah,
better
I'll
answer.
tell them to go hide in there.
They look and say, "Oh, bless you, sir, bless you," and they run off.
Well,
We'll go find the kitchen.
of course, then I'll military jog away.
Uh, so after a brief period of time, just getting to where you need to go, you're not really accosted by anyone else. You don't really have to encounter anyone else. Get there with relative ease. You both come upon a gate. Nice big wooden gate with a pretty decent hand of a crow and hoplite standing guard.
I am gonna. They haven't seen me yet, have I? Like we're
No.
ways back.
No.
All right. I am gonna take a breath, and I am going to turn into our good friend General Volk, and I'm gonna walk on up there, and I'm gonna walk over to Ecker and say, "All right, let's get you out the gate. Come on."
Yep. If General Volp's there, you're kind of a goner, but yep, let's do it.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna walk over and I'll say, just sort of walk right up to them and be like, taking this one out of here. Open the gate in my best old man Volk impression.
They look at you stunned. Say, General Volk, I thought you. One of them approaches you and says,
Is there a problem?
"Well, sir, I thought you were in the infirmary after your encounter with the Leonin."
Well, after good healer finally came around, I was able to get right back in it. And this one over here, one of his friends healed me up, and so I'm taking him to where he needs to be. And that's that. We'll be back soon. Be ready to open the gate for us. If I'm not there, let him in. Now.
Whoa.
They do so, and as they do so, one of the higher ranking officials comes over to you and says, that must be the best healer in all of Akros to have been able to reattach your arm in that way.
Yep.
Uh,
I say it still hurts, but we fight on.
They give you the salute and they say, sir, do you need us to send a detachment with you? After all, it was your right arm that was taken out, and that we all know that's the famous
Just
Gladius arm. of
just
yours.
hold the
Yeah,
gate. This is a stealth mission. Fewer is better.
They look. Give me a deception.
Sure. Here's a deception check with advantage. That's a 26.
Okay. They look at you and they say, but sir, what if your bad hips? You're very, you know.
Are you questioning my orders?
No, but
All right, then open the gate. And if I don't come back, let him in.
right, yes, sir. And they open that gate.
All right.
As you walk through the gate, you can hear one of the guards say, that man's insane for going out there like that. And then someone nudges him and says, "How dare you? That man's a goddamn legend." And the gate starts closing behind you as you walk out.
I'll chuckle as the gates close and be like, Zelkos, I think you could lie your way out of any situation if you could lie yourself out of that.
Just takes a good bit of observation, a little bit of practice, and you'll have it down one day. Don't you worry.
You convinced them that you had your arm reattached, more or less.
Yeah, there was that awesome healer Zelkos who did the trick with his friend Poggles. I almost name dropped. Decided it would be a terrible idea.
Yes. All right. I'm going to search for some Minotaur. Stay close.
All right, I'm gonna hide, and I'm gonna tell I'm gonna help. He's much better at hiding than me, so he's gonna help. I'm gonna ask you to help me find a nice little spot to hunker down, and then come get me if you think you need me to escort you further.
Yes. If you hear screaming, just run the other way. Because they probably messed up and we're running for our lives.
Sure.
All right. Well, it's not hard to find Minotaur here. Just go to the sound of screaming and wanton violence. So, after heading in a general direction of battle cries, shattered glass, etc., etc., you come across a cabal of Minotaur, about 5 of them that are just kind of rampaging throughout this city street.
Okay, the 5 of them, none of them are that Nyxborn, right? The Nyxborn one?
No, they all just look like your regular run-of-the-mill Minotaur. Just angry Minotaur.
Alright, I will go up to them and say, "Hello!" And I'll show my symbol.
They halt their violence, and they look at you, and they start grunting in approval.
The Archon, where is he?
In an almost maddened frenzy state, they start bucking wildly, and you can't really make out. Maybe an animal handling check, perhaps?
Yes.
No, you can't make it out. But after a period of time, they kind of stop, and it gives you the opportunity to ask another question outside of. It gives you the opportunity to ask another question.
It can't be the same question, I'm assuming, right? Or
No.
how long until the Archon's at the gates?
One of them looks at you and starts nodding. They're nodding very, very quickly. And you kind of hear it make out. You can kind of hear him make out or you can hear him say soon, and goes juts back to almost guttural roaring.
Are they just like mosh pitting? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I'm picturing
They
them. That's what
they
I'm
are like
picturing.
frenzied to the point where they're not really like they're bucking into each other. They're like slamming things that are near them. They're just solidly avoiding Acreus. 'Cause he seems like he's a ranking officer here.
All right, one last question. Where is the Archon coming from? And then I will let you fight or do whatever you want.
Temple to north.
All right, thank you, soldiers. And I will head back towards where Zelkos is.
And one
once
of them
I'm
runs
pretty-
through the wall.
All right, I will go to where I left Zelkos. Zelkos?
Yep.
All right. It was kind of hard to understand them, but the Archon is at the temple to the north, and he will be at the gates soon.
Do we know anything about a temple to the north, Frank?
Yeah, from your basic city layout, the only temple to the north of here would be the temple to Erois.
Gotcha. Well, rip. All right, then let's head back to the gate.
Yep.
I'm gonna motion for them to open the gate.
They do so.
And I'll say, tell no one what you saw here. This is critical, vital secrecy. We might be back soon. Hold the line.
They look at you very puzzled and they say, "All right."
And then I'm gonna go back to the party.
Yeah, same thing. All right, men. The Archon is currently at the temple to the north, and he will be at the gates soon.
Okay.
So we can go cut him off, or we can wait till he gets here. What do you think?
In fact, at some point I switched back to like regular soldier when we found a quiet spot.
Is he bringing the army?
There were a lot of soldiers outside, so my instinct says yes.
Do we want to wait until he gets into the city to make our attack? Because we're not fighting like an army. We're fighting like guerrillas.
Right. I'm partial to the guerrilla style, but it can go south very fast, and then we're screwed because we're not even really like Akros doesn't even know we're here and on their side. You know?
Yeah, no more screwed than if we actually tried to fight them out in the field, though.
I mean, I don't like it, but one option we do have on the table is they asked if they wanted to. So while we were there, General Volk, a good friend of ours, was there, and the soldiers asked me, I mean General Volk, if General Volk needed a detachment of soldiers. So if we really need to, we can get the troops on our side. We probably need to do it quickly before they figure out that I'm not in the infirmary. But
Honestly,
just keep that in mind.
they'd probably just increase our footprint. I don't think it's a good idea. Most of these clowns just get in the way. Like, I don't know what they're teaching them at the academy these days, but I seriously doubt it would be of aid to us. I think we should rely on not having to use like tactics are everything, and we don't have to fall into their traps
Sure. I mean,
because we have the freedom.
Acris, don't you have any magics to cover our approach?
I can make us quieter and harder to be detected, but that
So,
Archon
what's
and his
something?
mount seem like they're incredibly smart, so they might just sniff us out immediately.
Also, we still have to fight him. I mean, regardless
Exactly.
of all else, like we still have to fight him.
Yeah, my question is, do we think he has guards on him, or is he just with his mount enjoying his own space and sending everyone else to?
I mean, last time when he came to that outpost, he just came by himself.
Exactly. I think
Right.
he's too proud and strong to come with a retinue. I think he's a solo guy.
So what gives us our best shot at the guy?
So I think potentially sneaking into the temple where he's probably breaking it for fun for himself, by himself. He doesn't want anyone taking that fun from him. But I'm willing to wait too if we think that's better. I'm no
I
military
think
strategist.
Canathos did convince me that a lot of these troops are clowns and will probably just. I think we should go off on our own as a group of 5.
Also
And
save
try to
more
ambush
lives if we
him.
can do it sooner.
Also, I mean, look, there's no honor in what we have to do here, but we need to secure victory at all costs here. And if that involves retreating and rethinking how we're going to do this, then we need to do it. Like, I don't think Akros will help us in this situation, and I'm not really sure we can help Akros short of accomplishing our goal. So keep the eye on the prize.
Sure. Poggles, Valtos, thoughts?
I agree.
Whatever gets us our best shot at him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's just get to the temple to the north. Should we go through the gate or should we go a different way?
Probably a
Mm,
different gate, just in case they did send someone to the infirmary to double check, and like someone on their break or when they're checking. I don't know. It's risky. I'd rather
Yeah.
find a different way out.
yeah, let's try and take go around, but we do need to get there sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Canathos, you probably know all the exits to this town.
I do.
So yeah, you can just.
I do.
And can you go around unaccosted in a military emergency?
I might need you to help me with that.
Yeah, they might just try to conscript him. Be like, "Oh, you're over." Like, you know what I mean? They might
Sure.
just try to enlist him.
Then I'll be the general, but try to keep my presence masked until necessary. And you can just. No, I'll just be the general. It was fun. We'll do it again.
I'm gonna pull up my cloak and just be kind of hidden.
All right. Well, you guide the way to the.
Yep, and I will.
Best way
Frank,
out.
do I need to make any rolls, or can we just say
Are there any secret ways out?
So you're good. Because you know. Oh, secret ways? Give me a knowledge history.
easy clap? I spoke too soon.
Clap.
You're not a man to use secret entrances and back roads. You go straight for the prize.
All right. Well, we're not gonna use a secret exit. We're just gonna use the exit that they're not at.
All right. Lead the way.
I will lead. We're heading to the temple. Let me know if something needs to happen, Frank. Otherwise, I figure we're just walking along.
But I think we're trying to keep a low profile.
Yes.
Yeah. Relatively easy with everything screaming around you. So you can navigate the crew towards where you believe the temple, or where you remember the temple of Aroas to be. It's nestled in between two jagged rocks. It's supposed to be where Aroas first ascended to godhood after he won a fated battle there, in way ancient times. And you're besides the whole burning city and everything, you're able to get there pretty easily. At some point in time, you come under, I guess, the scrutiny of the guard. Though I'm gonna venture to say it doesn't really matter how high I can roll. I don't think they can beat Zelkos, but give me a deception check to just get through them.
21.
Yeah.
Not great. It's as low as I can
I
roll.
don't-
Did I roll double
not
ones?
great.
I rolled double ones. That's amazing.
No, your first number was a 1 and your second number was above a 1, but not above 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So, yeah, any guards that come up to you and they're like, "Hey, get out of here!" No civilians around. You're able to divert them and avoid anyone from noticing Canathos as he leads you over to where the temple is. None of you see any sign of the Archon as you're going there, which leads you to believe he still might be there. And with regards to any Minotaur that you see, most of them are just, as stated before, they're just rampaging.
Having a good time, having a good time.
What they do. You guys can get to that temple with relative ease. In fact, you're standing. Let's say you're standing with the temple in. It's in range where you can see the temple and make out the outer structure of it.
How many
All right,
entrances are
then
there?
we should do recon.
Do we
now.
see Minotaur? Do we see like battle? What do we see here?
It's actually somewhat serene.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
look through my
And,
owl's eyes and have it fly around right quick.
Yeah. Have the owl do recon.
Just real calm and tranquil.
I'm gonna move you over to the map. You'll all just get to see it.
Map Monka S.
We're not gonna fight here. It's okay.
So, let's say you guys are off into like the black back here, but you send Owl towards the temple.
I can see nothing, by the way.
You
Zoom
can
out a lot
scroll-
to the bottom.
Yeah, scroll down to the bottom.
And
Oh,
Frank,
it's on the bottom. Oh my god, this is tall.
Shift and left click sometimes moves the camera for people when you like ping.
Yeah, it's tall.
Okay.
Ignore how tall it is. So as you fly Owl into the temple, you could see before you a modest group of Minotaur. They're kind of just standing around, which, considering how they're in a temple of Erois, you'd imagine them to want to be destroying the place. And at the center of the temple, in like the general area of worship, you could just see the Archon atop his bull steed, or atop his bull mount, or his winged bull mount, just kind of sitting there looking straight up. Almost like he's in prayer.
Are there 4 Minotaur, or are there more than that?
Owl can see 4 Minotaur.
That's good. We like that. Baltos?
I've narrated the situation. I do not know how you want to handle this.
Probably not straight through the front door, if I had to guess.
Well, the front doors. Is there only the Frank? Can we get around the sides of these, or is this just like actually?
Oh, this is built into the crack.
Okay, that's what I thought. The front door is the only option.
Unless we want to
Yeah.
wait and ambush them as they come out. But there's also a chance that they're doing something in there for power, if they're praying.
There's also a chance that more show up if we wait.
I don't
True.
think they're praying. I think it's just him praying, right?
Yeah, but why would he be praying?
All right. Well,
It's
I'm
probably
gonna
not a good sign,
suggest
right?
everyone move to the side here.
I don't have control.
Wait, what? I have
Well,
control.
we're like in the distance, right? Or are we standing right
We are.
outside?
How distant are we? That's a good question. Frank, are these squares like the distance is accurate?
These are 5s.
All right.
It's not a
Another
large temple.
question, which doesn't have anything to do with this, but Frank, you have WoW stuff to do. I don't know when you want to.
Well, I assumed that before we started combat.
Yeah, I was
stopped.
gonna say I don't
So
think we'll
I
do the
just wanted to
combat.
check with everyone before.
I
Yeah.
wanted to. Yeah, I wasn't gonna have you guys. Full disclosure, I wasn't gonna have you guys fight him today. The second you got to combat with him, I was going to say, "Oh, we're gonna resume next time."
Okay,
Well,
so actually,
Yeah, let's orient ourselves.
How do we want to handle this then?
Let's just orient ourselves and then call it. Let's put ourselves or where we want to be and then just stop.
Because
I
our
think-
only option is going to be either wait out here and ambush them, or kick in the doors and ambush them.
yeah, the concept of chewing on what exactly we want to do is actually quite appealing to me. If we want to wait till just next week to even decide what we're gonna do, because I'm not sure right now. Like I don't want to.
Yeah, that's fine. Just let's all just line ourselves up against this rock. That's actually not our formation, and it's like, oh, we have to think about it. Yeah.
I also have some questions for Frank before we get
All
into combat. Anyways, that's
Also, did you see what Alex linked? Al, you can polymorph death something. Like it works.
Oh,
All the
Ella and I
sages-
were going back and forth. There's more information to be had than that.
Oh. Well, yeah. So this is a good Frank. This was a good episode. I liked this a lot.
Things are starting to heat up.
Thanks.
I'm getting a little worried.
I'm scared.
I also, Frank, why did you do this to me? I'm tired of being the bad guy.
Are we the baddies?
There were some revisions that happened in the car ride when I was sitting in for 6 hours today.
Was one of them
Where I
that
was
the
kinda
guy,
like-
the guy just rescued his daughter, and we're now just killing a guy who rescued his daughter? Because that's like,
no,
No, that one was always the case. That was always the case.
and we're not
Some of the
necessarily killing
revisions
the guy.
came in the sense that is true. Some of the revisions came in the sense of what you and Krishna got for like legendary
Right.
quote one-time use things.
the arrow is really good. It's very flavorful too, because my guy is like an assassin, gets to drop on people, so it's really good. Like it's really flavorful. I like it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like mine is super flavorful as well.
That the intent was to try and thinking out flavorful things, and there's something else I have to do with yours, Krishna.
Okay.
But it's for all intents and purposes, it's just foresight for one combat.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely what Kanathos would ask for Christmas. Ask for Christmas, right? It's like,
Advantage
Yeah,
on
that-
attacks and saves while everyone has disadvantage on you. Yeah.
It's gonna be like get into combat with like a
And ability
20
checks.
Yeah,
20
true.
turn long combat with something and have advantage
Yeah.
on everything. It's like a long battle. I like it.
If you would ever like to grapple something, you will have advantage on yours, and they will have disadvantage on theirs. So
You are
Yeah,
not
I could see
moving.
what-
All right.
Yeah, that was good.
I have got to do a Mythic Plus and then run Targast.
Bye, Twitch.
Who